It said an error occurred. Please try again. But
Where's my video?
It says we're recording, so I think I'm just going to start the video.
Behind home plate, we bringing it to them all day. All day. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. Always. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah, yeah. Welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Birdland. Now. Here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to Section 336, Next Generation of Baltimore Sports Talk. I am your Dealing String host, Matt Soroka. As always, I'm joined by the button lover, Josh Soroka.
Hey, Matt. How you doing this weekend?
I'm pretty good. And we got a third person here. Our guest, Zach from Pigtown Sports. Welcome, Zach.
Thanks for having me in, fellas.
Absolutely excited to have you here.
You know, I had a little trouble this week with Zach because he asked for a show outline for today and kind of what we would talk about. And I had to admit that it's been years since we made one of those.
Yeah, we used to make one of those.
We used to have one every show.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the advantage of us being brothers, we can we chart each other, play off each other well, and we text throughout the week about various things, so we generally know what the other person's coming in for.
Yeah, sometimes we'll do the notes, shared notes doc, but off season, not so much. So the off season, it's kind of fun because you have no idea what we're going to talk about. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I mean, we could use our shared notes, but right now our shared note says Rodriguez is going to the IL.
Yeah.
Means and Bradish may return soon, and Jackson Holiday got sent down for McKenna. So I think we're a little out of date.
Yeah, we need to update those notes. Last time I took notes, I do have notes from last week actually because I had to look up all the bold predictions. That was embarrassing. So I'm glad we're not talking about that anymore. But yeah, we'll get into some. There's been some interesting movements. I know we talked about the significance or not. Lack of significance with manager Hyde remaining at the helm. And so we thought, okay, we're staying course here. But then I guess we're not staying course because there's been a lot of other moves.
Right, because everyone else in the building got let go, right?
Yeah, Hyde can stay. Everyone else is gone. So we'll get into all that. I think this is going to be – I'm really curious about this offseason, both because of how this year ended, but also combined with new ownership. It's going to be a wild ride. I'm really interested to see how the Orioles approach this offseason.
Yeah. Now, Zach, over at Pigtown Sports, what do you do over there? Tell us a little bit about you.
I do a little bit of I try to make videos about either players, what's going on after the games or series previews. I do want to start kind of talking a little bit more live. I've got a couple guys that I've lined up, potentially some hitting coaches that are within the organization, some pitching coaches, some scouts down in Texas I've talked with a little bit, just to kind of get a perspective of the organization a little bit. But kind of just, whenever I have time to just throw something together, I'm trying to just sit down and do it. Being all Orioles related, obviously.
And what is your background?
So I'm an IT guy now, but I'm born and raised here in Baltimore here, and I got drafted out of Dundalk Community College in 2008 by the Florida Marlins. Played a couple years there, got released, and then signed on with the Orioles, and then I finished that year having a bunch of, at that time, heart problems, kind of figuring out what was going on. I ended up just taking a year off, and then after that, found a good job, and I just never went back.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's you made a lot further than Josh and I. So congrats on that. That's cool, and that gives you a unique perspective, I think, especially when looking at young players and prospects. And so did you get to play with people notable? I'm trying to think in terms of what years were you with the Marlins and Orioles, and
I played with actually one of my roommates for a while was Asher Tolliver.
Okay.
So, yeah. So pretty much every road trip we roommate together. Mike Flacco was around that time. Joe's
that's
little
right.
brother.
Yeah.
With the Marlins, I played with Giancarlo Stanton and Ozuna. Ozuna was 16 back then. He freshly just came over.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I was the only one in the outfield that didn't sign for $300 million.
Right.
And
How'd that
then
make
the
you feel?
Orioles, the big one with the Orioles obviously was Machado. That first year
Okay.
he got drafted, he came over to Aberdeen.
Oh, cool.
Some real good stories about him. That kid could flat out hit, as we
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Yeah, he's one of those people that are you can just tell. You can watch for 5 minutes to tell, like not even just baseball, obviously baseball, but just like super talented, super athletic. Could probably be a professional athlete in whatever he wanted to, because just super athletic, and the hand-eye coordination, all that stuff was just the instincts. All that stuff was kind of crazy. It seems like from day one with Manny.
Yeah, he is one of probably the only guys that I ever asked for their autograph. And
Really?
it was the very first day. Like
Yeah.
you could just, like you said, you could just tell. It was incredible watching him, just how he went about his business, how the ball came off the bat. Everything about him was just different than everyone else.
Yeah, and I still think it's wild the defensively how he played that entire time at shortstop. Did a little bit of practice with him at third, and then he was called up to the majors at third baseman, and he was elite at third base from day one. You hear a lot about today. Well, you got to get comfortable in the new position.
Right.
You got to give him
We're
time to
hearing the
adjust. Let's send him
holiday
back to the
excuses.
minors. Yeah, to
Yeah.
give him a couple months at second base or whatever at third base. And for Manny, no, let me do some practice after the game, and then throw me in the majors at third base. And oh yeah, I'm going to be one of the best players at this position.
You know, what's
That's
really
wild.
funny is he was terrible at shortstop when he got drafted. Like, and I say that loosely though. So if you hit a hard ground ball behind second base, he was laying out like 11 feet and making this amazing throw. But almost every routine ground ball that came right to him, missed it.
Oh really?
I mean, he was making every web gem you could ever think of, but it was the routine plays he just couldn't consistently make. And then he moves on to third base, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's not. I mean, I guess that's not too shocking because he was so young, and probably had a need to like work on, form and routine and the reps. And you just when you're that talented, maybe you don't need to do all that work when you can make up with it with just freaking pure talent. But yeah.
A lot of it I think of is if he had time to think, he put himself in a
Yeah.
bad situation where if he just dove and didn't have time to react, it just natural ability took over is when he really shined.
Yeah.
And that's what third base pretty much is.
Yeah. Do you still have that autograph?
I
Like,
do.
Was
I do.
it a baseball
Yep.
or something? Yeah.
Yep. And it was the first jersey number that he was ever assigned, number 27. It's still sitting in my parents' house.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yep.
All right, we got some. Josh, I don't know where you want to. Do you want to jump into some off-season stuff here? I also bought a car over the weekend, just yesterday, and it was quite the experience. I also have this new car that I don't know how to drive.
You bought the car. Now you bought the car yesterday.
What's today? Sunday. Yeah, Saturday. Yeah, I bought it yesterday.
Isn't your wife out of town?
She is.
So you bought it without her?
No. She was here for it. She left that afternoon, yesterday afternoon,
Gotcha.
after we
All
bought.
right.
So she was there in the morning.
All right. So tell me about the car. We can get into the Orioles stuff. We got the entire off season.
All right,
And
I'll
I
try
know-
not. I'm so excited about this thing, Josh. I'll try not to spend the entire episode on it. But I am.
You want to do next week's podcast from inside the car?
Maybe. I'm not like. I don't care about the car. I really don't. It's a minivan. I traded in my beautiful Honda Civic, which I love dearly with the sunroof. I traded in for this minivan. Whatever. Pressures. A lot of family, wife pressures to get this minivan. But the whole process, I don't say this sarcastically, I loved the whole process of buying the car.
Like the back and forth? Like,
yes,
go talk to my boss?
Yes, I'm fully into it. And I went the first day with Emily, and Emily gets so irritated because like all we wanted was to see the car, look at it inside, and like what's going to be the out the door price. Like that's all you want to do. And we could do that in 5 minutes, right? Show me the car, give me the out the door price. But you know how this thing works. They do the whole song and dance, and I'm there for the song and dance. I like it. I embrace the song and dance. The guy's telling me stories. He brings in, I mean, it's just like you would picture. It's like a guy in his 30s, And then he brings in the old veteran sales manager to kind of seal the deal. He's sharing these stories, and I love it.
Right.
I'm sharing them stories too. We're having a good time. And Emily's like, literally, Josh, Emily's kicking me under the table, like, wrap this thing up.
Well, yeah.
It's like, Em, you got to embrace the show.
It's also with the show, car dealership's the only place where they can't like just send a text message. They have to write it down on a piece of paper and then go talk to the person. And
yeah, and they always want you to sign something. I'm like,
right.
I'm not signing a piece of paper. Get out of here with this. The one guy was like just writing numbers on a piece of paper and like signed the piece of paper with his written numbers on it. I was like, I'm not signing this random piece of paper. But I love it because I think one of the reasons I love it is because when I was younger, I felt like I was so easily taken advantage of at dealerships. And now I feel like more confident about who I am as a person. And I have a spreadsheet. I know how much every minivan in the state of Georgia is going for. All right. I could tell you mileage and year, what that car should cost. So I have a really good idea. And when I go in there, I know like it's like I'm not going to be taken advantage of. I know my stuff. And so and so I'm there for it. I'm there for all the show now because I feel comfortable with, where this is headed. So anyway, I go there. We get the outdoor price for it, but I didn't bring my trade in. We still have to deal with that. And so I have the van I want too. It's a really good price. That's the van I want. So I talked to my boy. I don't know if I can say his name on here. He's not going to listen. Jamario. I talked to Jamario.
I was going to say either say the name or make up a name. It doesn't matter.
It's Jamario. That's his real name. And so, well, or it might not be his real name. I don't want to get him in trouble here because what happens next? So we have a good talk. So I'm going to bring back in the trade-in and we'll talk about the trade-in value. And that's where the negotiation really happens with that trade-in because the car price is relatively set. And so two days go by and I get this mass kind of, mail subscription email from them saying that they reduced the price of my car by $500. And this is great news, but now I'm starting to get stressed because already I thought the best deal for any minivan, this Chrysler Pacifica 2022, was already the best deal. Now it's reduced by $500. I'm like, oh man, if anyone else is paying attention to this stuff and they're looking for a minivan in the state of Georgia, they're going to buy this minivan. It's up in Gwinnett, but this is a different branch of the dealership that I'm talking about. So they'll ship it down from Gwinnett. And so I call Jamario. I'm like, Jamario, we need to move. I want to bring my car to get the trade-in value. And Jamario said, actually, between those 2 days, he left that dealership and went to the dealership across town, part of the same branch of 5-star Chrysler Toyotas, but now he's at a different one.
Okay. So
I said, Jamario, this is a huge smile across my face. This is the best news ever happened because what Jamario said to me, he said, whatever they offer you, I can get you a better deal. I said, sir, we will find out. Let's go. And so I went to the dealership. I got a new guy. No one wanted to talk about what happened to Jamario. New guy there. And they gave me the trade-in value, and I wanted $5,000 for it, and they were offering me $4,000 for it. So I was like, all right, I appreciate it. But and I get the printout, and then I go, I leave, and then I call Jamario right away. I said, Jamario, these guys trying to rip me off with that $4,000. What can you do? And actually, I didn't call them. Dealership. Yeah, so I'm going back and forth with the other dealership, and I end up getting $5,500 for my trade-in, which is more than I think more than it was worth. But he wanted to make the deal, so it just made me so happy to. Well, I feel bad because then the other dealership called me back and said, "Hey, listen, we have bad news. Your car has just been sold." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the guy who bought it. I bought it from the guy across town."
Wait, did you tell him that?
No, I didn't tell him that.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Because he told me, Jamario said, don't mention his name. Now that I just mentioned his name on the podcast, I don't know if people listening.
Nobody in Gwinnett's listening to this.
No, he's not an Orioles fan. I don't think he's listening. So anyway, we ended up getting a really good deal in the car. And it was just, I really liked the negotiation part too, the going back and forth, because I know exactly how my car's worth, and to want to get more than what my car's actually worth, pumps me up. And I felt really good about this perfect scenario because if Jamario didn't give me the price I wanted, I could always go back to the other dealership and say, "Hey, listen, at least give me this or something." That's what you got to do. You got to have multiple offers and have them have a backup plan. So I love the whole process. And then I went up and picked the car, and I hate that. I love my Honda Civic, and I get the stupid van. And the minivan, Josh, there's a million buttons on this thing. All right, so I'm going upgrading from a 2015 to a 2022. And in those 7 years, they put a lot more buttons in cars. Can I just say that? My whole screen's lit up with, I got an A over here. I got this car going out of the lane over here. I don't know what any of these lights mean. I'm like flipping through the manual saying, is this supposed to happen to this car? Like, is that A supposed to be on? The auto stop, whatever that is. There's parking assist, there's lane assist. There's so much stuff going on. I can have my own profile now, and everything is set. The seat, everything is set to my profile. It's just too much going on.
Well, welcome to the modern world of cars.
Give me my 1995 Toyota Corolla with the wind-up windows. I don't know how anything works in this car.
The auto brake or auto stop is the best thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Really? What does that do?
You can sit at a red light and just take your foot off the brake pedal.
Oh, really?
And the car won't move until you step on the gas.
Was it save gas or something when I was reading it?
No, that's the auto stop. That like shuts the engine off. And then it starts it when you press the gas. Though. It's annoying. That one's annoying.
I don't know if it's on or not. There's an A. Is that the one with the A and the circle around it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I want that on or off?
You can leave it on.
You have to turn it off
annoying.
every single time you turn the car on.
Yeah.
Oh, really? It automatically comes on.
Yeah. I think it's a like climate protection thing.
Okay. And I got the whatever. Is it called Apple Play or CarPlay?
Yeah, CarPlay.
This is the first time I've had that big old screen with my map.
That's real nice. That's the best part of a car.
I'm not a fan, Josh. I got my first text message in it, and my kids are in the back, and it read the text message to everybody. I didn't realize it would do that.
That's your own problem. You got to find that setting and turn that one off.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it was harmless text message, but I get a lot of text messages I don't want my kids reading.
Right. Well, yeah. Fix it until next month when your wife sends the text. This might be the last year we let them believe Santa's real.
Yeah. No, there was no text like that.
But now you talk about this negotiation process.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, you loved it. But this is also what the Orioles are about to go through.
Yeah,
and the Orioles are one of your dealers.
I got a great deal. I'm ready.
I don't like this.
Yeah, Josh, that's why I came home and offered you a trade in fantasy because I'm just pumped up.
Oh, that's why you tried to rip me off with all your research?
It was a very fair deal. I offered you a very fair deal. But yeah, if Michael Elias wants to bring me on for some negotiation processes, I'm there for it because there's going to be some negotiations this offseason.
But it sounds like you enjoyed the player side, the going from one team to the other team.
Yes. Like in this scenario, if I'm Michael Elias,
you are Corbin Burns.
Yeah. There's not two Corbin Burns I can kind of go back and forth with here.
No.
There's just the one Corbin.
No.
So Corbin, in this situation, I hold the cards as the car buyer, and in the other situation, Corbin Burns owns all the cards as the elite pitcher.
Yeah, Corbin Burns is going back between the two dealers.
Yes, he can ask for whatever he wants, and then you go back to the other team. Yeah.
You're virtually Corbin Burns.
Yeah, pretty much. And maybe I could even pull a Chris Davis where I get the ownership involved in driving the press.
Right. Go around. All right. Well, if you're Corbin Burns, I'll be the Freddie Freeman of this podcast.
Well, Freddie Freeman, that's an interesting scenario because he didn't make out too well with his deal. I feel like he was criticized for.
Yeah, no. I meant more of his big hit Friday night.
Oh, yeah, the big hit. Sorry. I thought contract.
No. And I'm down here in North Florida, which is a lot of Braves fans. So it was fun to talk to the Little League kids on Saturday morning about Freddie Freeman. Because they were all in bed by then.
Braves country.
Yeah, you are too.
Yeah, we well, actually, where I'm at, they don't care. It's all Georgia Bulldog football right now. They don't care about the
baseball.
Freddie Freeman, no one cares. They're Georgia football. That's all.
Really? See, I've talked to my kids about Freddie Freeman. I talked to the bakery guy at the grocery store yesterday about Freddie Freeman. They all want to talk about Freddie Freeman to me.
Yeah.
Dad sending me text messages about Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I got.
I'm so tired of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a swing, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what he did.
Yeah.
And the announcer setting it up with, well, he can't run very good, so he's just got to get enough to get to first base.
Yep.
Well, you don't need to run if you clear the fence.
I think, Zach, would you say? I mean, I maybe you can be a little more objective than we can. I don't know, but it feels like this playoffs, outside the Orioles losing, which makes me angry and bitter. It feels like a really good baseball playoffs. It feels like it's been good this year.
Oh, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
The Orioles, two Orioles fans, it's a cloud hanging over it, but every single game, like even the Royals and Yankees, was just great baseball.
Yep.
I can't sit here and say the Orioles would have provided that against the Yankees. I don't know. From the way they looked the last month and a half of the year, who knows? But it's been really fun to watch in both leagues, AL and NL. They're getting after it.
What do you think happened to the Orioles that last month? What is your theory?
I thought we were going to look forward today, Josh, but okay,
I know.
fine.
I really don't know. I sat with some friends. I'm in a group text too, talking with the Orioles all the time. We would go every day with different scenarios. Like we started looking at like, okay, who started struggling when they traded Ortiz? Who started struggling when they acquired Rogers? Or what happened in the news that day that came out publicly? Like we couldn't find anything. Something obviously happened in that clubhouse. Majority of professional sports, you never really find out about what that really is. There's obviously, we all read rumors on Twitter, some things that came out. If that was potentially true, that was a big deal, and it would answer some of the questions. If it wasn't, I mean, we're all sitting at the same point anyway, trying to figure out what the hell happened. But you looked at several, I'm going to say, I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say several superstar players who just didn't perform. And we all expected in October for the bullpen to be our Achilles heel, and yet they were the best part, and the offense was terrible. And it's kind of the exact same thing happened in 2023. We got in October, and the offense just was nowhere to be found. I don't know if it's a pattern. I don't want to say it's a pattern developing, but they got to prove it otherwise.
Yeah, and it feels like, I mean, I'm hating on Josh for bringing this up again, but it also feels like if we look kind of at what the Orioles should do going forward, you got to kind of answer what happened, right? Because that's going to help determine your moves going forward. Was this a blip on the radar, or is there some kind of cultural locker room issues, or is this something where these guys just aren't going to get it done? We need to upgrade our talent. Like I think all these questions, how you view what happened at the end of last year, is going to kind of determine how you're going to approach this thing going forward.
Have either of you guys watched the Red Sox documentary on Netflix?
Not yet.
Comeback,
No.
I think it's called, about the 2005 Red Sox team. I haven't watched it yet either because, it's the Red Sox. It's going to take me. I got to get in the right mindset to be able to
I
deal
thought
with that.
Netflix was doing something in this last year.
They are. They
Okay.
are, but they did
But that's not
first.
out yet.
They just had one come out about the 2005, I believe it is.
Okay.
And I had some. I saw some messages and talking about how the big takeaway from that series is the clubhouse, and the clubhouse of that team, and how that team spoke of each other in that clubhouse, and that's a big lesson for the Orioles to learn from. Now, however, when I look at what the Orioles have done the past month with firing the bench coach, the hitting coach, the pitching coaches, the clubhouse trainers, they clearly think there's something else going on here that they need to clear house.
Yeah,
of-
and
of
before we get to
managers.
those coaching decisions, part of Michael Elias's philosophy seems to me to also be drafting high character guys. And so when you talk about clubhouse
Yes.
issues, it seems like guys like Colt Kauser, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, like these are high character guys. These are like,
And-
they're not cancers in the locker room.
Right.
Right?
And that's what. Right. Well, we've heard great things about the characters of Adley, Gunnar, Westberg. We've heard great things about that.
Even
But we
it
also
seems
know-
like in the decision making to bring certain pitchers in, Mike Elias targets guys who are going to bring good clubhouse, good character guys.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But I think it's also been. I think it's also.
But even with that said, you can still have locker room issues, even if
And let's-
you on
Plus, let's be
the
real.
sum of the parts.
This year, with the election, has just amped everyone up into. You have to hate the other person. So if there's people in this clubhouse,
You think there's some
disagreeing-
political tie in here, Josh? You
It-
think there's some election tie?
see all the
You've been
time
watching
about
too
it.
much politics. You're on that Michael
No.
Mara show talking too much politics.
No.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I do see on that Michael Mara show
Okay.
that translates with this is
You
when
think this
we
is about
do-
faith night? Is that
when
what
we
this goes back
do when we do discuss politics, there's so much hate. It doesn't matter what we say. We get messages from the other side about hate and hateness. So when I see it pour into a little workplace like that, I can see when you add the pressures of winning, when you add news telling us to hate the other people that don't agree with you, and you've got these younger kids that want to come up and take your positions, I can see that being a lot of pressure and a lot of dividing of the clubhouse instead of unity.
I think that's insane. I think it's an insane take, Josh.
Okay.
I think what hurts the clubhouse more, what comes first?
Losing.
Yeah, and maybe
Losing hurts
Zach
the
can attest
most.
to this. What comes first, like friction in the clubhouse, or not hitting? I think that the not hitting or the not performing on the field comes first, and then you get a little frustrated with not winning or not performing like you feel like you
Yes.
should be, and then that spills into conflict. In
I
the locker
agree,
room,
and
right?
I think young guys making mistakes at the same time as old guys making mistakes causes pressure of I can do it better than you. Why are you in my way?
That'll cause some animosity for sure. I mean, we heard a little bit of some rumors. They didn't come out and directly say that Hayes was having issues, but you could see it on his face. He wanted to be out there, and Hayes is an ultimate competitor. While he was probably cheering on Cowser, there's no way that an ultimate competitor wants to see somebody else do better than him, right? Because he knows he gets buried. I'm not saying that caused any issues, so to say, but like to Josh's point, when somebody's younger than you and they're coming up to take your job, and everybody talks about this new guy in AAA, like it'll put a little stick in your butt a little bit. I mean, it's human nature. I don't know if it played any part into it, but something certainly did. I mean, I don't know if they decided to just mid-season, let's change our hitting philosophy, and they all pooped at once. There's no way around that. I mean, something happened where they all collectively went down together.
Yeah, and you could kind of envision the scenario where that pressure, but kind of the veterans and the younger players, puts more pressure on everybody, right? It puts more pressure on the veteran to perform because the young players is nipping his heels, and it puts more players on those young players when they're given opportunity. Guys like Jackson Holliday and Kobe Mayo, who really struggled, to like perform in a very short amount of time. And then you hear this all the time with baseball, right? The harder you try, often the worse you perform. Mm-hmm. And so you could see a scenario where everyone's kind of putting additional pressure on themselves just because of the situation, leading to, everyone struggling at once.
Yeah, just looking at 2023 with the runners in scoring position, they were really good. They were one of the best in baseball. And then we were one of the worst this year. It was complete 180 turnaround. I don't know why you would want to fix what isn't broken, but they try to do something, and it made it all worse.
Zach, is there anything to this idea of, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm conflicted about this. This idea that we hit too many home runs and we're too reliant on kind of the percentage of runs scored being based on the home run ball. And if we had more players who would hit more singles and doubles, our offense would, be less likely to slump for long periods. Is there any truth to that?
You want to hit as many home runs as possible, obviously.
I would think.
But there's also an approach there's certain guys with 2 strikes. You don't care if they swing for the fence. Gunnar Henderson, Santander. Those guys could be down 0-2 in a count and get a hold of one.
Yeah.
There's guys like Adley, who is an on-base machine and a good doubles machine. He's got good control of the barrel. You don't want him swinging for the fence in an 0-2 count. Jackson Holliday, same thing. You've got a ton of speed. Mateo, you can kind of make your way around. Mountcastle, same thing. He's got very good control of the barrel. Just use the whole field. You do not have to constantly swing for the fence. So part of that, yes, they were a little too reliant on driving in runs. You got to get on base first. I mean, like the old Earl Weaver, a 3-run home run is going to kill you a hell of a lot more than a solo. And the Orioles hit a lot of solos. Home runs are great. Like, I'm not going to take anything away from that. They help you win a game. But when you're striking out 19 times before you hit a home run, like it's doing nobody any good. Like having runners on base causes pressure to a pitcher. And especially if you get somebody with speed. If Mateo gets on or if Holiday gets on, okay, now he's got to focus on this guy might steal second. Or this guy at second might steal third. He's going to make a mistake down the middle of the plate. I don't think, obviously they took that into consideration, but they just didn't put it into play.
And we saw that we saw that in the playoffs, where with it was tight games, 1-2 run games, we saw players swinging for the fence every time. They were uppercutting those swings, getting those balls up in the air, and just not far enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I made a video about it too. Like, you can hit 1 million home runs in Baltimore in June, July, and August. It's humid, and the ball absolutely flies when it's hot out here. But when it starts to cool off in the end of September and the beginning of October, and these games are only 50, 60 degrees, like that ball that Westberg hit, that's a home run in June and July. And then it was only, 383, 385 in October. Like, that's the difference between getting a couple runs and just flying out to the fence. So they have to start to take the weather part into consideration when it does start to cool off. And we've seen it for 2 years in a row now that they don't change their approach. Like, obviously, if you get a good ball and you hit it good, get a good backspin on it, it's going to go out. But those balls that like just barely land on, the little where those guys sit that fix the field, that just, right field, barely getting over or barely getting over in left field, they're not going out in October. And when you take the same approach and take the same swing, you're just getting out.
Now, is that what you look at when we look at they let go? There are 3 hitting coaches they let go and the bench coach. Is that because of a mentality thing of you're not preparing the guys for these? You're allowing them to constantly swing for the long ball? Is it trying to get rid of the coaches to try to change how the team functions like that?
It's weird, Josh, and I keep on avoiding your conversation about the coaches.
Yeah,
but like a little bit more context here.
I was just trying to move forward instead of keep looking back.
I know. We can move forward, but let me look back at one other thing.
Yep.
To add context to the conversation. I mean, at the end of the year, we finished second in baseball. We led the league for most of the year. We ended up second in baseball in home runs. In runs scored, we were 4th in baseball. So we're gonna have this whole off season talk about this offense and what we did in the playoffs. But for 162 games, we were 4th in all of baseball. In OPS, 4th in all of baseball. And we're up there with the Dodgers, right, and the Yankees. And the Diamondbacks are up there, and the Phillies and the Padres. Like, we are up there statistically in almost every category as one of the most potent offensive teams in baseball. And so, yes, the playoffs happened and September happened.
But part of that is we started out so strong.
Sure.
Yeah, June was incredible.
Sure, but it's not like the players. Again, the players who were hitting in June are those same players that were on the team in September, right?
Oh yeah,
and the same coaches were there too. There was not a big coaching change that happened between June and September.
To me, a coach is somebody. You're a professional, right? You know what you're doing. You know how to prepare. You know how to study. A coach, they have, obviously they're looking at the film. A coach is there to see that one little thing that you're just missing, and to kind of go over an approach, right? They gather a lot of data. So before every series, they have a ton of data on like the pitcher. They know what he likes to throw and what counts, how he attacks a right-handed hitter, how he attacks a left-handed hitter. And they break it all the way down to, okay, like if you're a left-handed hitter in an 0-2 count, 52% of the time you're going to see a 2-seam fastball inside. Like it's broken down like that. So that's their primary duties as far as like coach goes in professional levels. To get rid of them, in my opinion, is one, either the numbers weren't good enough, like what they were pulling and showing just wasn't adding up, and or they were just being completely confused.
Well, and I think maybe you see a little bit of that where, yeah, we the headlines are that we fired 3 hitting coaches. The sub headline is that we also fired 3 people out of advanced scouting and strategy.
Right.
And the analytics department, as in we weren't prepared. The Orioles as a team were not prepared for these playoff games.
Yeah. I was at game 1. Buddy of mine's got 2 season ticket plans. So we go every year. And I was sitting there in like the 5th inning. So I was with my brother and my best friend. And I looked over and I was like, I feel like the Orioles had this plan. They had everything figured out. They knew exactly what they were going to see. And the Hall of Famer that's squatting down there behind them changed it all up, and they have no idea how to adjust. Like they fully put 1,000% into their analytics, what they saw, what they found, everything. And then Salvador was just like, okay, I normally throw 60% of a fastball here. Let's just throw a changeup.
Yeah.
And they, as young as they are, they just could not adjust. And it looked just like that. I don't know if that's the case, but it looked like Salvador Perez took over that game and just did his thing.
Yeah. I don't. What are your thoughts on the co-hitting coach thing too? Because that's always struck me as weird. 2 hitting coaches.
Every team has multiple, but they're all assistant. So to me, I think the Orioles just found a way to pay both guys the same amount of money.
Oh, just a pay,
a
title and pay thing. Sure.
I don't think they were obviously. So Mike Elias is going to set what they want to do, right? And they're just going to just preach what he wants. So I don't think there was ever a point where they were clashing or anything like that. It's just.
But is there ever like a point where there's too much information in these hitters' ears, right? Like they're being told all of this stuff by this guy, and then more by this guy. Like, okay, let me just go out there and hit.
It's definitely possible. I mean, like Josh said, anytime you try too hard in baseball, you start thinking too much, it's all out the door.
I know. I see it in Little League where I am coaching the kids in the game and then their parents are on the fence yelling other things to them.
Oh yeah.
And I had a parent yell this past game for the kid to steal. While meanwhile, I'm at third base coach giving the don't steal sign. And he stole, got tagged out because he's too slow.
Yeah.
And he doesn't slide good. So so I knew he couldn't make it, but he listened to his parents.
Oh, ouch. Josh, I'm turning into one of the parents. You know what I always do? Sal's always plays third or short, and they tell him all the time to not throw the ball. Right? Just field it and don't throw it. Because it's so hard. It ain't you to throw it all the way to first and get him out.
Well, even harder for the first baseman to catch it.
To catch the ball. There's like a 5% chance it'll work. So statistically, you're better off at that level just holding it. But my argument is you're never going to get better at throwing the guy out unless you actually practice throwing the ball. So I always tell him to throw it. And the coach is always saying don't throw. So I'm one of those parents. I just want to confess that to you.
I coach that way, though, too, where I tell my pitchers to try to get the pickoffs. They never get them, but I want them to get used to that motion and throwing over there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody at you, if you want to get a standing ovation by the coach, you hold the ball up and you just kind of hold the ball. That's what the epitome of success in this league is, catching it and holding the ball. That's what we're all looking for here. It ticks me off, Josh.
All right, you brought in Little League, so I got to tell you a Little League story from Saturday.
All right, and then we got to get to what might be the biggest the biggest news in Brian Ebel after 40 years. But okay, go ahead with your Little League story first.
All right, real quick, Little League.
Yeah,
we're playing a tight game. It's a close game. We there's I think there's 2 outs, bases loaded. We got a guy up at the plate. It was either close or tied at the moment. Bases loaded, 2 outs, guy up at the plate. He throws a ball, and then the other coach calls time. I'm over coaching third base, and I'm just watching, and the coach calls time, and he waves for the other players to come in to, like, they're going to talk strategy. Now, I'm smart enough to know that this is 12U baseball. There's not much strategy you're doing right here on 12U rec baseball.
Yeah.
When all you need is 1 out, you want the kid to focus on the batter and get the batter out. So I pay a lot of attention, and I watch as the pitcher hands the baseball to the first baseman.
Oh, hidden ball trick.
So they're laying out the hidden ball trick.
Yeah.
So I'm at third base coach yelling over to my first base coach and the person on first base.
He's got
stay on the bag, stay on the bag, stay on the bag. And everyone's looking, the team's all looking at me. I'm yelling while the pitcher goes on the mound and pitcher gets on the rubber. So instantly I'm like, well, this is stupid. It doesn't work anyway. I'm still yelling, stay on the bag. But
these umpires don't know any of the rules either. Right, so you got to be careful with this.
I'm watching, and the pitcher stepped on the rubber. So then I'm questioning myself, like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they're not doing the hidden ball trick.
Yeah.
So I keep yelling, stay on the rubber, or stay on the base, and then I watch, and then my kid, again, the pitcher stands up like he's about to go into stride, and my guy steps off first base, and sure enough, tag him.
Yeah, but that's the right move if he's on the rubber about to go in stride.
Yeah. So then the coach yells, something like, you got him or something. Great job. Great play. And I run out onto the field. I say, no, wait. I said, wait. He was on the rubber. The umpire has to calm me down. He goes, I saw the whole thing. It's a balk. You guys rotate. Guy scores. And then a coach starts yelling at arguing with the umpire. And apparently with 12U, if you want to, he's like, the umpire said you can do the hidden ball trick, but you can't even be on the mound. You can't be on the dirt for 12U.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and that makes sense. Yeah.
So they screwed the entire thing up. And I was so tempted to properly do the hidden ball trick later on them in the game, just to kind of teach them and show them, like, here's how it works. But the umpire was handling things really well, so I backed off.
Yeah. Now, I found out that you got to be careful because umpires at that level might not know the rules. I've experienced a couple of times.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, we ran into an issue where the umpire was not even aware that if there's a force out anywhere, not just first base, that the run, and it's the third out, the run doesn't count. That scores. Like, we ran into that issue. It's like, what are we doing here, people?
Well, that's yeah, maybe I haven't ran into that one yet. I ran into high school kids.
You know what, Josh? I didn't even argue it because I don't even care. It's you.
Yeah.
You call them out, whatever.
Right. Well, I had argued the hidden ball trick, but I argued and I was already on the ump side. The ump already saw everything.
Yeah.
So
good umpire. All right.
It was fun to see them screw it up. But anyway, the Orioles let go of their of Ebel, who's been there for 40 years.
Yeah.
Now,
head athletic trainer.
Yeah. Is this because we've had so many injuries this year, or is this because he's been there for 40 years, he's ready to retire?
Well, you know what's also wild, Josh? If you look at it and you read all about it and people are talking about this, there's only been 4 athletic trainers in the history of the Orioles. Isn't that kind of wild? That's like a lifetime position there when you get to become the head athletic trainer.
Yeah, it's like the guy that prepares the balls, and it was like him, and then he passed it down to his son, and there's been like 2. You don't know what I'm talking about? I forget this guy's name.
I don't know if you're talking about passing to his son. It was Bancels before this. Richie Bancels before this. He was there for a long, long time, and Ebel has been here. Yeah.
Was Ebel like his assistant?
Before that?
Yes, I think that's true. I think it was Richie Bancels, and Ebel was an assistant.
So let me ask you guys a dumb question. Do you think Elias has looked at a lot of these guys and just said, "You're an Angelos guy. See ya"?
I think that's the easy answer. Is we have new ownership, so everyone's being looked at and everyone's being prepared. But he was 40 years. He was there before Angelos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not a Mike Elias guy.
Right. Yeah, but he's not necessarily an Angelos guy either.
Yeah. I mean, he was the head athletic trainer for what, the past, I think, like 6 years, maybe 2018. So it wasn't in that same position for a long, long time. The Orioles did have a bunch of injuries this year.
Did we think the Grayson injury was an issue? Because remember, it was only supposed to be a couple days,
right?
And then it turned into season ending for him.
Yeah.
You know, are they misdiagnosing them? Are they not?
Because remember, he was also like the All-Star game trainer this year.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think he's a highly respected dude. I don't think he's bad at his job. I think there could be an element of
trust.
Like,
maybe did he trust these guys too much and it backfired when they couldn't stay healthy?
Well, I mean,
if you're the athletic trainer and your guys are getting hurt, especially if your guys are getting hurt and their injury stints are longer than you first anticipated, like that's not a good look for you as the athletic trainer. That's a bad look.
But if it was about player injury, wouldn't you fire the entire training staff?
Well, when you bring a new guy in, he's gonna bring his own people in anyway. So they'll all be eventually done.
But what is MLB.com is saying that the assistants, Mark Shire and Patrick Wesley, remain with the O's organization and could be the candidates for head athletic trainer next year.
We'll see what happens there.
I know, like when I played, like we used to get like a textbook, and it was thick. Every off season, they developed like a nutrition plan for every individual player. They developed a workout plan. I wonder if maybe they decided to like change how hard they worked out or how often or something that led to more injuries. And then Elias was just like, dude, that didn't work. And now you're gone.
Something like that would make sense. I am shocked with how they've handled it, that every article is they're letting him go after a year full of injuries, not he's been there for 40 years and ready to retire and spend time with his family. Like they're not being all professional and like nice about it. And
the Orioles haven't said anything. So like
Right.
No one's been
But-
fired, right? They've never used the terms
Yeah, no.
fired.
They're not right. They're not coming back because they're
Yeah.
year-to-year contracts.
Is that a professional thing, or is it like?
No, I mean the way the articles are being spun
Oh, okay.
is focused on the injuries.
Yeah,
And
but
you know-
Josh, why
but
would they
all-
say he's retiring? Like maybe he'll pick up a job with
Well,
another
no,
team.
that's what I'm saying. It's not that he wants to spend time with his family because everyone writing these articles is familiar with Brian Ebel.
Yeah.
Any one of them would have had a conversation with him and said, "Hey, are you retiring? What's going on?"
The same with
So-
Freddie Gonzalez. Like,
Yeah, same with
that was
Freddie
out
Gonzalez.
of the blue. Like, is he retiring because he's older, or was he shown the door and they did it in a nice professional way?
Zach, what's your take on Josh's theory that the only reason Freddie Gonzalez was let go was to make room for Buck Britton, and this is all a slowly evolving plan to get Buck Britton as
Well,
as
you
the
got to
manager of
back
the
up.
team?
You got to back up my plan
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's not my plan. It is a readjustment of my plan where I believe Brandon Hyde was not supposed to still be the manager of the Orioles. That
That's
that he
possible.
got manager of the year and then they got stuck with him.
That's possible. Yeah, I mean, you got to find room for Buck. I don't know if directly putting him as a bench coach right away is the thing to do. Major league bench coach would be one thing, but like what I forget the guy's name that got fired or whatever they did. That position potentially to kind of like groom him and show him how to do things.
Yeah, the Freddie Gonzalez position.
No, the other
No.
guy.
The Jose Hernandez.
Oh, okay.
Jose, yeah.
Yeah.
Like kind of like leave him there to like learn from whoever takes over Freddie's position kind of thing. I don't know if they're going to throw him right to the Wolves. They could because he does have, plenty of managing experience. And
Zach, I believe it was you that I saw pointing out when I had this theory, pointing out the argument against it that Buck does not have these relationships at the major league level. So he's not there to tell you, hey, I want to work with this trainer and I like the hitting coach over here, that he doesn't have that pool to get those guys yet.
that would be my worry is like now you're relying on, so, I mean, obviously he knows some people. Would he be able to convince, a good top hitting coach to come over? Would he be able to convince Ryan Flaherty to leave the Cubs and come here for the same role? Like you're then relying on Mike Elias to either overpay somebody or find somebody for him.
I think you just convinced me. We bring in Buck Britton. He brings over Flaherty as the hitting coach. He brings his brother in as the pitching coach. And we get the early 2000s Oriole teams to coach this next generation.
I personally, 1,000% want Ryan Flaherty as a hitting coach. I really want to find a way to get one of the Molinas in the organization, either Yachty, Benji, or I forget the other guy's name, but they've all been coaching in the major league level, except for Yachty. But Benji and the other one have been with Texas and Atlanta and stuff. They've been there. We all know the Molina bloodline and how long they've played. They know the game. They've all caught. I would love to get one in there. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, but it would be fun.
And Ryan Flaherty, you mentioned, he's a bench coach with the Cubs right now, right?
Yeah.
Have they said anything about him next year?
He's still under contract.
Okay.
He could leave for more money.
Yeah, but
if they approved it, but
as bench coach, he's trying to progress to head coach, to manager.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like Ryan Flaherty, wherever he goes, is pretty darn well liked, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he seems to be a sought out commodity, which is interesting.
Well, he's your classic baseball mind. I mean, we saw him play 8 positions for the Orioles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I
He's
didn't come
got the
across,
knowledge.
and maybe I wasn't paying good enough attention. I would realize it going back, but it's not like interviews blew me away when he had interviews. Like I don't recall thinking when he was a player, like this guy's going to be a great manager. Like maybe people thought that.
Right.
I don't remember being.
but
aware
I
of
think
that.
it's different speaking to the press versus speaking to other ball players.
Yeah.
Sure.
He speaks their language.
Oh, he does.
His
Yeah.
father was a coach for a long time too. I mean,
Okay.
it's in the
his blood.
bloodline, and
Yeah.
I'm sure his dad has gone over scenarios with him. I mean, he played 8-9 years in the big leagues. I mean, he's been around for a while. He was with Arizona too. Was it Arizona? No, it was San Diego.
San
He was
Diego,
with
yeah.
San Diego for a little bit as their hitting
Yeah.
coach. I mean, he's been in the game. He scouted a little bit before he got picked on by these coaches. I mean, he's kind of seen all facets of Major League Baseball. I feel like, and plus he knows a ton of people. So getting him on the staff where he was already liked in Baltimore, the front office already liked him, although new ownership, but still, he is a guy I think that with Buck Britton could lure some bigger talent coaching wise long term, and or players. I mean, because he's been with some good players too.
Maybe. I mean, Craig Counsell, he knows what he's doing over there.
Oh yeah,
he's a manager,
right?
It's a great guy to learn from too.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like it's. I mean, it could not be a better guy to learn from the Craig Counsell. But also, Craig Counsell brought him there. I don't think Craig Counsell would likely let him go if he brought him there.
Right. And I mean, he played under Buck. I mean, Buck's one of the better minds in all of baseball. I mean, he's learned a lot in his career, and I feel like he has a lot to give younger players.
Yeah.
Especially being himself. I mean, he came here as a Rule 5 guy, as a very young guy. He had to go through the grind all the time. He's done that. Am I not performing? Am I going to get sent down, or am I going to get sent back to my club? Like, he's been through all of those struggles. He's played in the postseason. Like, he's got a lot of valuable information that he could pass on to a lot of younger players.
Zach, what's your thoughts on Brandon Hyde? Are you on the Brandon Hyde bandwagon? Are you good with them bringing him back? Would you like to see the Orioles make a change there?
I played for Brandon Hyde, and he was an outstanding players manager. Outstanding. Yeah. And he never took any crap. Like, some of the stuff that I heard getting out of the locker room, personally, because Freddie was with the Marlins when I was there too. So we had Freddie and Brandon.
Oh, wow.
And Tim Cousins, the bullpen coach. Tim was my catching coordinator. And it was just the things that I heard there, I'm like, there's absolutely no way any of that ever happened, because they ran a tight ship, but you loved playing for him, and you loved respecting him and listening to him. Part of me also was like, because Freddie's very outspoken, so if things were said and allowed to happen, and Freddie's going to open his mouth about it and talk about it. Could be why he's not here. I don't know though. But Brandon he's a wealth of knowledge in the game.
Yeah.
I didn't see it this year like I saw it in 21, 22, and 23. It's like that slope started to go here. And I don't know if he was told to do certain things.
Like the left-right splits that were constant and not actually looking at matchups.
Thing ever. But that's not just
some
him.
of the and all those times where and a lot of time it worked out well, but every time you saw someone who was a more talented hitter being pinch hit for because of the right-left split makes you want to pull your hair out, and it goes against a little bit of kind of common sense here.
And then you would have the pitcher who's having a great game, but it's the third time through the lineup, so I'm going to pull him. And then the bullpen comes in, gives up a home run
at 4 2/3 innings.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I said, it's that slope started to kind of go down, and the fans went down with it. The hard part about being a manager too is, and I try to tell people this, like when they're like, "Oh, you should have used so and so out of the bullpen." Well, Brandon Hyde knows if so and so said, "Hey, maybe I need one extra day," or my arm just isn't feeling good, or Tim Cousins picks up the phone from the bullpen and says, "Hey, he looks like shit. Like, let's try somebody else." Like, a lot of that goes into that never makes it into the press conference, never makes it to the TV announcers. Like, we don't really know. So his job is obviously magnified at our level. We look at it and we're like, "Oh, you should have did this." But, behind closed doors, this was potentially not even possible. So his job is a lot harder than people probably give him credit for, just because we don't know. I mean, that's just a baseball thing. Like, you're never going to know, because then the other team knows too. But I think he's in a Joe Girardi situation right now. Joe was a proven winner, and he got, what was it, like 30 games, 40 games to the Phillies, and then they just axed him. Yeah. I potentially could be looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because we all are going to just naturally be judging Hyde at the beginning of next season with how this season ended. So if they come out slow, if they go into a big slump again, we're going to remember this past season.
Oh, yeah.
There is something silly, though, to Zach's point of hopping on Twitter on a game on June 13th and wanting to fire him based off managerial decisions on June 15th, right? Like, it's a long season. I mean, it's the same way last week. to make a Ravens comparison, last week, our boy Drew Forster, I always pick on his Twitter because he's so obnoxious on that app. But last week, Drew Forster was like, "Where are all the John Harbaugh haters now? They're probably feeling really, really dumb right now." And then this week, all the John Harbaugh haters are like, "Where are all those John Harbaugh lovers now? They're probably looking really dumb now, right?" And and my whole thing is, well, maybe we should wait until we get to the end of the season and then kind of make an assessment: is John Harbaugh the right guy for the next year? And I think with Brandon Hyde, with the manager as well, like I'm all about, like, I didn't want to fire him midseason. I'm all about, let this thing play out. Let's see how he does over the course of the entire season, because it's more about, I think we get overly critical about these minute decisions day to day. There's a lot of other things that go into managing, like culture.
Except you're talking about let it play out and then let's pause and think about it. Michael Elias didn't pause. He came out the next day and said he's my manager next year.
That's what I'm saying. I thought that was insane. I
didn't understand that one. But when you do look at it long term too, I don't think we ever really had an issue with like guys not running a ball out first. Like when you lose your locker room, the guys give up. And I really don't think too many times that we could count, or we all watched our players give up. Obviously we saw some base running mistakes, but they were aggressive mistakes. Like we didn't see guys like just kind of coasting in a second and getting tagged out because they didn't slide. We didn't see guys kind of walking down the line to first. Like I never got the impression that our team gave up on what his message was. Could be why Elias quickly did that.
And I will say, Elias, we say he didn't pause and check with players and all. He may have done it before this. He may have done it during the slump. Like in August, September, he may have talked to these players and found out that really they're struggling with the hitting coaches and training. We might have found something else out that then they let play out, because Michael Elias, I find it odd that he said that immediately and didn't give it pause to let it think. But then a couple days later, he fired a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
So he had something.
Josh, the Michael Elias apologist here. Oh, making up all these excuses. Oh,
no.
Sure he talked to them during
not necessarily.
They have their conversations. I mean, he wouldn't have made a decision like that.
I'm not convinced. I've heard so many stories, and maybe this is the Orioles being misrun for years, about people not having conversations, about people not being informed when they were fired, that I don't take it for granted that they have conversations they're supposed to have. I don't. Like, maybe they do.
Around baseball, I'll say for the benefit of the doubt, around baseball, that conversation typically does happen between player and GM. And or like the GM at least will call the player's agent and say, hey, like what's he complaining about? Like kind of, give me a rundown. If they didn't, then that's a big Mike Elias problem. Just around baseball, they do typically have those conversations. Like, do you want to play for this guy? Like, are you happy here? Like they should be having those conversations.
And I guess my conversation is whether he had those or not, that his feeling coming out of this season was not that Hyde was the problem in the clubhouse, but that all these other people were, I guess. That he still sees Hyde as the leader of these men, but needs other guys to do a better job preparing the team. Which means he probably approves of the in-game decision-making and changes, because that's the stuff I would really put on Hyde.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that, it does come from Elias, too. I mean, he's got a phone. They text each other in the middle of the game. They call each other in the middle of the game. Like, a lot of that you don't see on TV, but they are constantly communicating.
You think they during the game?
Yeah.
During
yeah.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about
that. Yeah, because like that's how, like, if Ebel would quickly come over and he'll call Elias, like, hey, like so and so just broke their hand. Like, Elias is immediately getting on the phone. They don't wait till the end of the game because they.
How does that phone? Does that, like, in the dugout phone, or they have a different cell phone?
It's cell phones. Yeah, they'll text each other and stuff.
iPad or cell phone?
It's just text.
Yeah,
because it's just going just to him. Now, if he was sitting somewhere and saying, "Hey, fastball's coming real quick," like, then we got a problem. But they're not doing.
Well, they'd have to bang on a trash can for that. Yeah. Can't do it through text message.
Right, doesn't get there fast enough. But yeah, they're communicating, and I do feel like sometimes they're like.
I mean, I see Michael Elias on his phone sometimes while he's watching the game. I always assume he's like on the Verge Twitter account watching highlights or something, but maybe he's also texting.
He's texting everybody. So his communication all night, I mean, he'll be getting updates from Aberdeen, Bowie, Norfolk, Dominican Summer League. Like he's constantly getting some kind of update from coaches, right? They have to send him a report every single night. So every manager at every level has to send him a report. Like, and it's not just like stat report. It's like so-and-so took extra work today by himself. Like, we didn't have to ask and he stayed over. And, so-and-so did really good on his backhand today. Like, we might feel like he's ready for the next level. Like, it's a detailed report that he gets every single night. He has to read through, and that's kind of what helps him make the decisions of who goes up when and stuff. It wouldn't be past me for him to just say, like, real quick, like, hey, let me see Cano in this situation in the 8th inning instead of the 7th inning. Like, I wouldn't put it past it. Some of those decisions are 1,000% Brandon Hyde. I'm saying that you'll see probably 10 to 20% would also be Michael Eyes too.
Well, there's another reason to keep Hyde.
Yeah.
He's Elias's puppet.
I do think Hyde might be a yes man. Just maybe. And maybe all these other guys weren't. They weren't in Florida, so I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like most managers now, right, have to be a little bit of a yes man. Like, I feel like it's rare to have
Aaron Boone is a yes man.
Oh, and
it's just the extent. How much are you a yes man on that spectrum?
Well, it's part of seeing the analytics take over baseball, especially those decision making things.
They, like I said earlier, they're a blessing and a curse. Sometimes they're perfect, and sometimes you just want to pull your damn hair out because it's just not baseball.
Right, it goes against some of the elements of common sense. And
I see the time, and we never got to any free agent talk. But free agency does open up probably this week. I mean, this World Series seems like it might close out pretty quick. And either way, it's opening up very soon. How important is it to have any of these coaching spots nailed down before free agency? Does that affect, do players care about who your hitting coach is to sign with you?
I wouldn't say they care, so to say, but it's reassuring to know like who you're going to be going to work with. Like, what kind of philosophy are they going to be preaching here? Or, like, it doesn't hurt, right? It's not the same as every other job. Like, they can backfill that later. It's not like the NFL. Like, okay, this guy's going to run this defense, right? The hitting coaches, it's a little bit different, but it's just reassuring to know that things are set in place before you go there. More of a consistency thing. I don't think it's going to prevent anyone from signing. I say that, but it could. I mean, every person is different in free agency and how they think. I would feel more comfortable if over the next 7 days they would announce at least one coaching spot filled. That's just me though. I don't know. It worries me a little bit.
It doesn't hurt to have them filled, because if you do have them filled, if you bring in a guy like Ryan Flaherty that you speak of all the time, he has relationships with players that love him and might want to come because of him.
Right. For sure. I mean, like he was coaching in San Diego, so I mean he's been around a couple of guys from there. Been coaching in Chicago a little bit. I mean, he's been around. It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt you to not have them filled, but it wouldn't hurt. It would be good to have them filled. I couldn't get that out right.
Yeah. No, yeah, it makes sense. I think, the unknown could make players a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
So you like that known commodity there.
Like if you're trying to sign like a big guy, like say if you're down to like Bregman, Santander, and so, we'll just throw something out there, Goldschmidt or something. And they don't know that, but the Orioles may be potentially hiring a hitting coach who's never been a hitting coach in the major leagues before. Like, and you already signed here, and then you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Or the rumors are, right? And you're going to be like, I don't want to work with somebody who's never done this in a major league level. Or if they hire somebody who's like very respected around the league, you're like, okay, this is a good situation here. Like if you're looking, we'll say between, I don't know, I'm just going to throw this out there. The Athletics or the Orioles, right? So the Orioles have a great staff here. I feel like they can make me a better player.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose them, even though it's a little bit less money.
Right.
Now, if you have the Orioles that don't even have a vacancy, and now you have in your mind, like, okay, who might they hire? Like, what if I don't like this guy? What if he's young? What if he doesn't know what he's doing? It's just a 1-year deal. Yeah, I'm making a little bit more money, but I could not be that good. And now I'm in the same spot next year. Like, it's little things, but it would definitely benefit the team to have that spot filled with a respected guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially with you would imagine the type of players the Orioles are pursuing. There's going to be multiple suitors. The money, I think now, like most GMs have a pretty good idea, right, of the money that a certain player will cost. So the money is going to be comparable, I would imagine. So any type of edge or any type of potential disadvantage, you want to, I think, eliminate all those possibilities to make it as comfortable for a player to sign.
Yeah, because all those
especially
other
these
big
elite players.
teams, their coaching staff is set in stone. They've been there.
Yeah.
Everybody already knows them. The Orioles' backs are against the wall at that point. Right? Now you got to try and pitch this idea to a really good player, and you're not set in stone here.
Yeah. Well, shoot, maybe we'll have to get Zach back on here sometime to actually talk about actual players and free agency and where the Orioles should be headed this offseason. Didn't get time for it. I'm sorry, it was my car buying story.
I know. And
Yeah.
I had some little league stuff.
Yeah,
This
and
happens
your
all the
league
time
thing,
on this show where we lose track of time. It's maybe if we had show notes, we would follow along.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk to free agents because
Josh, do you see the time?
I know, but when free agency starts, the market's open and everyone can talk to everyone. Meanwhile, we've been able to privately talk to Santander and Orton Burns. Zach, where do you see these guys going? Do you see either one of them having a chance of staying here?
I think Burns has a better chance than Santander. I think Santander's going to get some kind of large deal out west, whether that be Arizona, San Diego. I think a lot of it's going to rely on where Profar goes. I think Profar is probably the number 1 guy, and then Santander's probably like the number 4, maybe 5 guy in the outfield. Although he's going to still get a very large contract, I think other teams are going to prioritize other players first, either a cheaper deal or, better on base and stuff. Somebody's going to go out there and say, I want a middle of the order bat. I don't care if you hit 230. Here's your 4 or 5 year deal, whatever they want to give.
And you think that's based more on the depth of the Orioles and that we have other big bats that we can let him go and be okay versus we don't. You're not going to replace Burns with a Burns.
Yeah, I mean, if Burns signs quickly or tells them quickly no, they might shift their attention back to Santander, but I think they're going to try to address the pitching concerns first, mainly because they only have, 3 starting pitchers on the roster.
And do you let Burns go out and test free agency, or do you just give him the deal? You give him the 7-year, whatever, $250 million they keep projecting, and just be like, here, we'll do it.
I think they'll talk about it, and I still think he'll probably go out there, and he's pretty hard set on just seeing what's out there. I mean, if he took 750 or 7 for 250 out, and the Dodgers like, I'll give you 7 for 275, or I'll give you 7 for 300, and I'll 20 years from now I'll give you $5 million a year. Like, he's going to take that, obviously. Like, he's going to float a number out there to somebody to see who's dumb enough to just float the money 20 years down the line.
Right.
Like the Dodgers keep doing. I actually saw the Dodgers are now favorites to land Soto for over 800.
Which is crazy because you think if they win the World Series, hey, we'll back off for a while. We can ride this hide.
No. They want to spend more. They're just going to keep spending and spending and spending just until they don't have any more money or don't win for 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, it's baseball. The rich
Matt,
get richer, and we figure it out. Yeah.
Michael I said that the Orioles will spend more this offseason. Do you think they'll really spend more, or do you think it's just the fact that everyone's price goes up that's currently on this team?
That always happens, right? Arbitration costs.
Right.
Yes,
it always
it's
goes
impossible
up.
To not.
So do you think it's the fake going up, or do you think we really new ownership? It's the right time for this team. Let's make big moves.
Well, what did we spend last year? Was it like 26 between the 2 free agents?
I'd have to pull it up. I mean, not much because the big deal was the trade for Burns,
which added salary.
Oh, sorry, so they didn't even pay for that. So what? Just $13 million for Kimbrel? So
was that it?
Right. So if they spend $15 million,
right, it's more.
Right, it's considered going up, right?
Right, but that's
what worries me.
That's what I call fake going up.
Yes,
like that's the old Angelos way of going up. Like, oh yeah, we spent more money.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be what was they projecting, like 95 million or 97 million after arbitration and stuff. They're going to get over 100 just signing one guy.
And there was an interview with Dave Rubenstein, when he wasn't talking about the Pandas, that he did mention that he'd like to see the Orioles win a World Series and that he's getting older.
He's no
Yeah.
spring chicken. That's
Yeah,
right.
he-
He wants to see those.
yeah, yeah.
Like listen, like I'm fully bought in. I'm fully bought in to the ownership deal. I think the reason we didn't spend money in the past is because of ownership, and I think now we have ownership who will spend money. Now I don't expect us to be in the top 5, right? But I do expect us to spend money on free agencies.
I'd like to get in between the 12 to 16 range, but as far as spending in teams.
I think we'll be there.
Yeah. 160,
now I wonder,
175 million, I think puts this team in a very good position. Because then you're getting some top arms.
Right.
Yeah,
because
and
the
what that looks
first
like is a couple
contract,
starting
right?
pitchers and a couple bullpen arms. Yeah.
The first
Especially since-
contract isn't up until what, 2027? And that's Mountcastle. So 2028 is Adley and Grayson. So you got 4 years here to really
That's a
spend some
big
money
old
on
window.
3-4 year deals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Big
you,
old window.
especially when you have pitchers coming back, but not until mid-season at the earliest.
Right. Can't
So you're
rely
gonna
on that
need
stuff
help.
again. I don't want to rely on Suarez was great this year. I feel like he would benefit probably next year in the pen. But if you had to go another whole season with him pitching, what is he, 36 or something like that?
Yeah.
That's
Right. You don't want to do that.
yeah. You're on the grounds of probably getting fired by half the fan base after that.
Yeah, and I think there's question marks with Kate Povich and Chase McDermott, and I'm fine if there are possibilities for next year. But if they're rolling in as our 3 and 4, or even
Yeah.
our 4 and 5, like I want them competing
Right.
for that 5th or 6th spot. That's where I want them.
Right. If Dean goes out and gets hurt and he misses 3 weeks, right now you only have 2 guys on the roster if you don't
Oh,
re-sign Burns. And
When was the last
and
time?
we know, I mean, Grace Rodriguez, how can we count on him for a full season after the past couple
Yeah.
years?
he hasn't pitched a
Yeah.
full season yet since he's been drafted. So
Yeah.
When was the last time that we started a season knowing what our 5-man rotation was and comfortable that was a good like a 5-man rotation? It seems like every season we're like the 5th spot or the
Yeah.
fourth and 5th spot could be one of these 4 people.
yep.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean, I
okay.
feel good about the Zach Eflin edition, right? Straight
Yeah.
down.
Well,
that feels good going into next year.
That feels great to have Zach
have that
Eflin.
spot.
I would like
As
to
you know.
add Shane Bieber.
Well, I mean, and then we get into it. I'm annoyed that Josh bringing this up at the 105 mark or whatever. But there's a ton.
I said 2. Any other name you guys bring up is on you.
There's a
me.
ton
I
of
said
good
2.
arms. I'll just say
I
there's
said
a
keep
ton of
it
good arms.
in-house, the guys we can talk to today.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the time period? It's like what, 4 days after the World Series ends?
No.
There's like a certain time period.
The day after.
The day after. Okay. Is it
I
till
believe it's-
4 days or? Because there's only a
Well-
certain window where you can talk to your guys.
I think
and
that's
then it
now.
opens up.
I thought
Is it
that's
now?
now. And then I
Okay.
thought the day after the World Series, it opens up to everyone. Let's see, MLB free agency dates. Let's see. Players cannot sign with a new team until 5 p.m., 5 days after the end of the World Series. All right, so
Okay.
we do have 5 days.
So we're looking at roughly 7 to 10 more days of getting a deal done before these guys pick up the phone and their agents start calling all these other teams.
Right.
And
And
then we'll
then-
have to wait till February.
Well, and of course, the crazy part is that it's like, oh, we can only talk to Corbin Burns. But Burns' agent has talked to every other team to know what's out there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we've been talking to Corbin Burns the whole season. I'm sure. Like this is
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. All right, Josh, you want to bring up?
You
a
guys see
new
them
topic?
picking up Eloy's $16 million option?
I don't think so.
Would you re-sign him to a minor league deal?
Yeah. I mean, I think Elias would, right? Because
Elias
Elias
would.
clearly
I
saw
wouldn't.
something he thought he could fix, and he's a weird hitter though, Zach, right? Because it seems like the hard hit contact is there. It seems like something going on with the launch angle or something where he always drives the ball to the ground. If there was like a hitter who I could see as a GM thinking, oh, I can fix this guy, Eloy Jimenez seems like the poster child for a guy that looks fixable, right? And could be
Yeah.
really good.
He reminds you of like Miguel Sano. Like everybody kept trying to fix him because you know what's in there.
Yeah. The potential, the
Yeah.
power potential. Yeah.
Or Beckham, as when we
Beckham,
brought him
yeah.
in and tried to fix Tim Beckham because he's a number 1 draft pick. He's got to be good, but no one could get it out of him.
I was at I'm gonna ramble here for a minute. I was in a pre-draft workout in Georgia the year that we all got drafted, so he went number 1 that year. he didn't hit a ball at the infield the whole round, and like people were still just raving about him. It was brutal, and I had to race him. That was fun.
Well, that's why people still talk
I was a
about him.
catcher.
Yeah,
I was a catcher, and I had to race him.
It makes you wonder about those scouts and the scouting stuff, because again, they're looking at stuff I'm not looking at clearly. But like we joke in the NFL side how wrong they get with quarterbacks, and you have all the data and you can watch a quarterback for 4 years at college, and then you can totally swing and miss on the quarterback for your NFL team
all the time.
And now we're talking about high schoolers and how you're supposed to protect a high schooler and how their body will fill out and what they'll be like as a baseball player in 4 or 5 years. Like I have no idea how they can even have these discussions. Kind of blows my mind.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But
all right, let's get out of here, Josh. We're going to bring up a new topic.
We will talk actual free agencies probably next week.
Maybe. We'll check the show notes.
Next week? I think it's the week. Yeah, next week I'm good. The week after, I think I'm in Vegas on Sunday, so we'll have to figure out scheduling.
Okay. Yeah, schedule gets weird in November for me too, but
we'll make it work.
All right.
I appreciate you having me on, fellas.
Zach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Zach, if people want to follow your work, what's the best place that people can follow you?
I ramble a lot on Twitter, just talking stats. I'm a big stat nerd, so I throw a lot of stats up on Twitter all the time, and then I just try to put the content out about players and stuff on YouTube, and then I make little TikTok shorts and stuff like that. Just if something pops in my head, less than a minute.
And it's all at Pigtown Sports.
Yep.
That's where it's all at.
Pretty much on any social media website except for LinkedIn, I'm at Pigtown Sports on there.
Okay. What do you at LinkedIn?
Just my name.
Okay.
Well, that's professional. Now
that's actually where I'm most active.
I'm going to bow tie on that one.
Now, Zach, what I would do is go on over LinkedIn and create the business Pigtown Sports.
Yeah.
And I tell you that because that's what I went and did this week is created some businesses so then it would show up on my LinkedIn.
That's not a bad idea, yeah.
Because I launched this week, Matt, I launched the Podcaster's Warehouse to help other podcasts. Because as you know, I've been helping podcasts basically since we started this thing. But now I am a full-time podcaster, so I want to pick up some other shows. So if anyone wants to create a podcast or needs help with their podcast, they can go to thepodcasterswarehouse.com. I don't have the social media stuff set up yet, but they can message me on there and I can help them out.
Yeah, you helped me with a tricky situation this past week to do an interview with the guy from Tanzania who I couldn't get a good connection with. So, yeah. So if you need to interview people in different countries or do other work.
I get nice checks every month from the state of Maryland to produce your work podcasts.
Yeah. Any literacy nerds out there? The Journal of Adolescent Adult Literacy podcast. Check that out. That's a very niche audience right there. I would be curious. Are there crossover between people passionate about literacy and Orioles baseball?
I'm always surprised. Yeah, I'm always surprised when I find crossover with the Mike O'Mara show. Yeah. I would love to see crossover with the Journal of Adolescence.
Yeah, if you listen to both podcasts, please reach out. I want to know who you are
and why.
Yeah, why. All right. Well, Zach, thanks for joining us. You can follow again him at Pigtown Sports on your social media platforms. You can follow me on X and just X at Section 336. But you can follow the show on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and all that. And you can follow Josh
at Josh Soroka. Matt, do you want one piece of do you want to take a quick trivia guess before we get out of here?
Sure, yeah.
Because if you remember, we dragged on for months about Birdland Sports and my deal with Breaking T.
Yes.
And how they didn't announce it because the Orioles sucked so bad at the end of the year. They didn't announce it until the Orioles clinched.
Yeah, that's right.
So that gave me about 5 days until the Orioles then just sucked again.
Right. You had 5 days of your shirts on the line. Yeah.
I had 7 designs launch. How many shirts do you think I sold in those 5 days?
I don't think it was a high time for buying shirts.
No, it was not.
I would say 1.
I'll tell you, the timing worked out so that mine arrived in the mail the day after the Orioles got lost out of the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
27.
Oh, wow. That's higher than I thought.
Yeah, it was way higher than I thought too. So I'm excited for next year.
So imagine if if they actually played well.
Right. So continue. If you ever go to Breaking T, look up Birdland Sports for all my shirts there.
Yeah.
I bought a couple from them this year.
Yeah, nice. All right, boys and girls, thanks for listening. As always, go O's, and I guess go Ravens.